This is Christopher McNabb facing charges for the murder of his 2-week-old child in Covington, Georgia. After the baby's mother reported the child missing, local law enforcement launched a search. McNabb appeared in front of TV cameras, pleading for his child's return, expressing his desperation.
I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid, man.
The next day, the child's body was found in a nearby wooded area, with the cause of death determined to be blunt force trauma to the head, ruled as homicide. McNabb was arrested and charged with the murder. During the sentencing, McNabb maintained his innocence, proclaiming, "I didn't do it. I've maintained that the whole time. I would never do this."
I'm innocent. I didn't do it. I've maintained that the whole time. I would never do this. That's all I gotta say. I would never do it. I'm innocent.
However, the judge challenged him, allowing him to unknowingly choose his own sentence.
Claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On considering the death of another, I sentence you.
As a result, McNabb received a life sentence without parole for malice murder. Following the sentencing, McNabb was transferred to Hayes State Prison in Georgia, where he is serving his life sentence. This is Franklin Williams, convicted of multiple felonies, including armed robberies and fleeing police in Cleveland, Ohio.
Again, I'm going to interrupt. Mr. Williams, listen to me. I'm going to gag you in 1 second.
Williams conducted 3 armed robberies before leading police on a high-speed chase, resulting in his arrest and conviction. During his sentencing, Williams continuously talked despite warnings from the judge.
That means zip it right now. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't.
That's a violation of the info law, Judge. Here we go.
As a result, the judge ordered Williams's mouth to be taped shut.
If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
That's what it is.
At a subsequent court appearance, Williams asserted his right to freedom of speech, but the judge proceeded to hand down his sentence. Williams faced a potential maximum consecutive sentence of 103 years.
You faced a potential maximum consecutive sentence of 134 years. I ordered a 24-year sentence.
But ultimately received a 24-year prison sentence. However, the judge later apologized for the duct tape and nullified the sentence. A new judge was appointed who sentenced Williams to 33 years behind bars. This is Camilla Gamet, charged with the murder of her boyfriend in Jackson, Mississippi. The incident occurred during an argument, resulting in her boyfriend being fatally stabbed. Gamet claimed self-defense.
The way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies.
But she was found guilty of murder. During the sentencing, Gamet repeatedly interrupted the judge, showing no remorse.
You're gonna shut your mouth or I'm gonna have some duct tape put on it.
The judge expressed agreement with the victim's family, stating, "You stabbed until he was dead."
You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Gamet was sentenced to life in prison without parole. This is Kimberly Kessar, charged with the murder of her co-worker in Nassau County, Florida.
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Kessar worked at a Tangles hair salon under a fake name. After being on the run for 25 years, wanted in multiple states, she was finally apprehended. She allegedly brutally murdered her co-worker with scissors and disposed of the body. While awaiting trial after her arrest,
Are we on mute anyway, so I can say whatever the I want?
We're not on mute.
Kessar exhibited disturbing behavior in jail.
Began to remove feces from styrofoam trays in the back of her cell and smeared on herself on the walls. She began to throw feces at Smith, Miller, and I.
During the trial, she had to be moved to a separate room due to her outbursts.
I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jolene Cummings' cousin as my public defender. What, you don't want the public to know that?
She made false claims about her former public defender, Jordan Beard, who was Jolie's cousin. Kessar was ultimately found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. This is Keandria Cook, found guilty of carjacking charges in Volusia County, Florida. Cook, 18 at the time, and her then 17-year-old boyfriend orchestrated a carjacking using a dating app. The boyfriend shot the victim, leaving him seriously injured. After attempting another carjacking 2 days later, they were apprehended. In court, Cook admitted guilt to all 3 charges and received a 20-year sentence in state prison. Cook's mother was heard crying, as there was a miscommunication with the assistant public defender, leading them to believe she wouldn't face prison time.
Of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
That is
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to click the like button and subscribe for more content. Cook's sentence was later reduced to 11 years in prison. This is Jacob Morgan, who at 17 years old was found guilty of setting a house fire that killed a family member in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Morgan was tasked with caring for his 14-month-old stepbrother when the incident occurred. Prosecutors alleged Morgan intentionally started the fire. During a probable cause hearing, the judge addressed the charges against Morgan. Eventually, Morgan accepted a plea deal.
So therefore, I am going to find that there is probable cause to charge the individual for General Sessions Court for both charges.
Admitting guilt to involuntary manslaughter and unlawful neglect of a child. Despite maintaining his innocence and expressing love for his brother, Morgan received a 15-year prison sentence.
I love my brother. I still do to this very day. He's my best friend. To kill him and be killing the pieces myself. And I just wish I could have gotten to him in time.
He was released after serving only 7 years. This is Ignacio Rodriguez, who is suspected in the death of his 4-month-old son in San Antonio, Texas. The child suffered a fractured skull and severe bleeding to the brain. Rodriguez was arrested and brought to court, where he faced a capital murder charge. Instead of contesting the charge, Rodriguez pleaded guilty to a lesser offense of intentional or knowing injury to a child causing serious bodily harm. The judge sentenced him to 50 years in confinement.
Mr. Rodriguez, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty. The judge now hands down his sentence.
It is the order of the court that you be sentenced to 50 years confinement.
During the sentencing, the baby's mother confronted Rodriguez.
I hate you more than anything what you did to her son, and for that I can never see myself forgiving you. You were supposed to be our protector, not the one to break our hearts.
Urging him to tell the truth to their other child as she grows older. Rodriguez insisted on honesty.
As she gets older, she will start asking questions.
Then tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her the truth. Tell her how everything was supposed to be. Tell her the whole truth. Don't lie to her. Tell her the whole truth. Tell her the whole truth. The whole truth.
Court officials quickly remove Rodriguez out of the courtroom.
Tell her the whole truth, Angela. The whole truth.
But court officials removed him from the courtroom swiftly. This is Damon Kemp, who is accused of murdering his 2 roommates in Daytona Beach, Florida. Police responded to a burglary call at their apartment complex, where Kemp allegedly confessed to the murders. During Kemp's bond hearing, he is brought into court in a wheelchair.
God! 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 God!
Despite the judge's attempts to address him, Kemp ignores the proceedings.
Kemp?
God!
Damon Kemp. I'm going to conduct your first appearance.
God!
The emotional toll on the victim's family becomes too much, and they leave the courtroom. Currently, Kemp is held in the Volusia County Jail awaiting his trial. This is Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham, both charged with homicide by child abuse in Summerville, South Carolina. They were supposed to care for a toddler for 2 weeks, but the child, only 3 years old, died from her injuries. After being found guilty, the judge sentences them both to life in prison.
What must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child is more than disconcerting to this.
Butts and Cunningham are now serving their life sentences in separate prison. This is Anthony Kirkland, a convicted serial killer in Cincinnati, Ohio.
They say I am evil and a monster. They're right. Even my mom hated me, but I don't blame her.
Kirkland admits to being evil and a monster. After serving a 16-year prison sentence for killing his ex-girlfriend, Kirkland began a killing spree over 3 years, claiming the lives of 4 women, including 2 teenagers. He was arrested after his 4th murder when police found him with one of the victim's belongings, making him a suspect. In court, Kirkland faced the death penalty for the charges. He appeared to faint as the charges were read out. Eventually, he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to death.
Count 4, aggravated murder.
Currently, he awaits execution on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Facility.